Welcome to the College Sports Corner, the show where we talk about anything and everything in the world of college athletics. I'm your host, Isaac Gray, and with me as always is the talented pair of Hannah McCravey and Khalil Dixon. Guys, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Isaac. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. What about you, Hannah?
Doing great. Sunny outside.
All right. Well, as usual, let's start with a look back at the past week in college football. So, who had the performance of the week in Week 7 for you guys? Khalil?
Well, I had to go with the machine, Jalen Hurts. He had 131 rushing yards on top of 235 passing yards with 3 touchdowns. He just went crazy in this week's win.
Yeah, absolutely. Big showing out in the Red River rivalry game. Big Big 12 implications there, and he really stepped up. What about you, Hannah?
I'm going to have to go with C.D. Lamb. He had an incredible performance with 10 catches, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. That Oklahoma offense was rolling. You had Jalen throwing it, C.D. catching it, and the Sooners just rolled in that one. For me, I went with Malcolm Perry, the quarterback of the Naval Academy. He had 218 yards, 3 touchdowns on only 20 carries. And whenever you're averaging over 10 yards per carry as a rusher, you're dominating. And Navy really dominated, winning 45-17 over Tulsa. So big conference win for them in the American. But moving on from individual performances to team performances, what's one big takeaway you had from Week 7, Hannah?
Is that Georgia's going to have to stay undefeated for the rest of the season. I feel like if they want a chance to be in the playoffs still, especially when they play Florida November 2nd. It's a big game. Absolutely.
In Jacksonville, it's always a big time when those two teams meet, but even more so when you have such big implications on the line for those two teams. What about you?
That was my takeaway as well. If they even want a chance, and that's just a chance to make it to the playoffs, they're going to definitely have to go undefeated because that loss to South Carolina did not help at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Losing at home like that to a team that they really should have beaten, that's a big loss. And for me, not just Georgia, but the SEC is wide open. You have, in the SEC East, you still have Georgia, Florida with 1 losses in the conference. Missouri's actually at the top with no conference losses, but they still have to play Florida and Georgia, and all those schools have to play each other. In the West, you have Auburn, Alabama, LSU still all have to play each other at the top of the SEC West. So really, I think anything can happen in the SEC West, and I think it's going to be, in the SEC in general, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how it shakes out, and it's definitely going to have huge impacts on the college football playoff. But now that we are at the past the halfway marking the college football season, there are more and more teams picking up their first loss of the season. But what one-loss team still has the best chance of making the college football playoff right now? Khalil?
I'm going to go with either Florida or Georgia. I'm not really sure which one yet. As you said, the SEC is wide open, so we're going to find out soon, but I'm going to go with one of those 2 teams.
All right. What about you, Hannah?
I'm going to have to agree, but I feel like Florida has a better chance. Right now, their only loss is to LSU, so that puts them a little bit higher up than Georgia right now, in my opinion, as long as they can remain undefeated.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, like you said, that puts a lot of pressure on that November 2nd game. World's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville. You got Georgia and Florida, and that game's always fun, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch that one. And I think, really, for me, any SEC team that only has 1 loss looks better than any other team in the country that has the same amount of losses, because you think about how competitive the SEC is. They have so many teams in the top 25 right now, and I think whatever school comes out with only 1 loss as the conference champion definitely will get into the playoff. But moving from hopeful teams to Heisman hopefuls, there certainly have been plenty of impressive resumes that have been built so far this season, but who has stood out to you in the front of the race for you, Hannah?
It's got to be Tua.
Tua?
For me, absolutely. He's been doing fantastic. He just passed a record. He has 77 career passing touchdowns, and he started out this weekend with that, which was already a record.
Yeah, absolutely. Bama's really been rolling. You don't really hear much about what Alabama's doing simply because they haven't really been challenged by anyone yet. Right. They've really just been rolling over. And I think with games against Auburn and LSU still remaining, I think it will be really interesting to see how he performs in those games compared to how he's performed up till now, to see if he can keep that same level of play. I think he can, and I definitely see why he'd be at the front of the candidate. Right? What about you, Khalil?
I'm going with Jalen Hurts again. I've been talking about him all season, but, he's just performing tremendously, and I think he's going to keep performing like that. And I think he's got something to prove. He's going to leave a mark this season.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm going to keep with quarterbacks. Going back to the SEC, I'm going to go Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU. For years, LSU has always been seeming like they're 1 quarterback away from taking that next step to being able to get past Alabama. I think Joe Burrow can be that guy. Right now, he's got over 2,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. The key there being only 3 interceptions. he can really manage the game well, but he can air it out when he needs to. I mean, you saw against Florida this weekend with a big win over the Gators. He threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions there. And with big marquee games against, again, Alabama and Auburn, those are going to be the defining games in, I think, his Heisman candidacy. And if he can lead the Tigers to an SEC championship and an appearance in the college football playoff, I think that speaks a lot to him. But now switching gears, looking ahead to Week 8, there are plenty of high-ranked teams on the road this weekend, and with that, some teams on upset alert. So who's on upset alert for you, Hannah?
Clemson should be on upset alert against Louisville.
Okay.
Sounds kind of surprising, but Louisville is coming off of a big win. So they have momentum right now. They just defeated number 17 Wake Forest this past weekend. Yeah. That's a tough competitor, and just as Clemson will be for them. Yeah,
getting a big road win like that's definitely going to be a boost in morale. So I think Clemson on the road in Louisville is definitely an interesting game to look out for. What about you, Khalid?
I have Florida on upset alert. I mean, Florida, all of their games from here on out are do or die if they want to make it to the playoffs, and they're playing South Carolina, and they're going to be feeling good after just beating Georgia. So yeah, they're going to try to keep that momentum rolling into Florida. So I think Florida's on upset alert.
Yeah, Will Muschamp and his Gamecocks definitely showed that, they fear no one. They went into Sanford Stadium in Georgia and was able to knock them off. So they're looking to do it 2 weeks in a row. It'll be interesting to see if they can do that in Florida. For me, I just talked about them, LSU on the road against Mississippi State. LSU really coming off a big high against beating Florida, staying now ranked number 2 in the AP polls. My whole thing is, can they keep it going? Can they stay with that consistency? I think they might come out a little bit flat in the first half, and Mississippi State has enough talented athletes to keep it interesting. I think LSU will still win, but I definitely think it'll be a lot closer than what most people think. But from there, looking more into Week 8, lots of big games across the country, like I said. What's the game of the week for you, Khalil?
I'm going to have to go with number 16, Michigan versus 7, Penn State. That's going to be an interesting game to see this week.
Absolutely. What about you, Hannah?
I have number 17, Arizona State versus number 13, Utah, just because right now they are tied for first in the Pac-12 South, so it's going to be a challenge to see who wins.
Yeah, big showdown out west. It's too bad they always kick off at like 10 o'clock, which is past my bedtime. But
right.
Anyway, I went for Michigan and Penn State as well. Big ranked matchup, Big Ten East implications there. Obviously, the winner really playing second fiddle to Ohio State still, but all those schools still have to play each other. So obviously Penn State and Michigan this weekend. And you think about the whiteout in Happy Valley, it's one of the most electric atmospheres in college football. It's really one of the best home field advantages. You got 107,000 crazed Pennsylvanians screaming their head off. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I think it's going to be a win for Penn State, but I think it's definitely going to be an electric atmosphere and definitely the game of the week to watch. But when we come back, we will get you all caught up on all things Campbell Athletics in time for our big homecoming weekend. So we'll be right back.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
It was certainly a busy weekend in Campbell Athletics, from the pool to the hardwood, but we'll start with volleyball. Khalil, what was going on in Campbell volleyball this weekend?
Well, Campbell volleyball opened the weekend with a 5-set nail-biter against USC Upstate Friday night, barely scraping by the Spartans 3-2. Our women's volleyball team then improved to 4-1 in the Big South Conference play after sweeping UNC Asheville in 3 sets on Saturday afternoon at Gore Arena. 5 Camels had 7 or more kills in the win, led by Sarah Cola's 12 kills. Cola committed just 1 error across 20 attacks for a 5.550 hitting percentage. Alina Heath also added 9 kills, followed by Melody Page, who had 8 kills, and both Amanda Patterson and Leah Green had 7 kills. Their next match will be on the road against Charleston Southern on the 18th.
And it was a busy weekend for Campbell Swimming, which hosted 2 meets this weekend. The Camels hosted the Liberty Flames on Friday, October 11th. The Camels were able to keep it close, but fell short by a score of 131.5 to 125.5. The Camels were able to bounce back the next morning, though, as they hosted UNC Asheville. Campbell opened the meet by winning the 400 medley relay as the team of Megan Everett, Angelica Brown, Maddie Biotto, and Annie Sanchez collectively swam a time of 3 minutes, 59 seconds, 3 minutes and 59 seconds and 72 tenths of a second. And they never looked back as the Camels drowned the Bulldogs, winning by a score of 174 to 88. The swim team will spend homecoming weekend on the road this coming weekend as they go to the ECU quad meet on Saturday the 19th.
The men's soccer team took the road last week to face conference rivals Winthrop and Presbyterian. On Wednesday, the team traveled down to Rock Hill, South Carolina to face last place Winthrop. The Camels prevailed over the Eagles, winning 3-1. Next, the team traveled to play Presbyterian on Saturday. After conceding 2 goals for the first time since the team's very first game of the season, the Camels fought back and won 6-2. The Camels are now 10-2-1 on the season and in first place in the Big South. Next, they host third place Gardner-Webb Wednesday evening at 7 p.m.
And in women's soccer, the women hosted out-of-state rival Charleston Southern. And thanks to goals by Alexa Genis and Rosie O'Neill, the Camels defeated the Bucks 3-0. The team now sits at 8-3-2 overall and 4-1-1 in conference play. Next, the team travels to Longwood tomorrow to face the Lancers in a midweek conference showdown. With a win, the team would improve their win streak to 4 and would remain second in the Big South.
Campbell football will be back in action this Saturday at 4 o'clock in Barker Lane Stadium. The Camels will be coming into homecoming this weekend, matching up against Hampton off of a bye week, looking to improve to 2-0 in the Big South versus Hampton, and push his 4-game win streak to 5 against the Pirates.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the College Sports Corner. Make sure to leave us a like and share us and leave a comment on what you think about today's topics. We hope to see you next week, and until then, I'm Isaac Ray.
I'm Hannah McCravey.
And I'm Khalil Dixon.
Thank you for watching.